Hello Year 3! Welcome back to There's a Rumble in My Tummy. Now we're almost at the end of our topic. So the last two sessions are going to be about nutrition, about food. We're going to learn about the different nutrients that we need in our body, and we're going to learn about food groups. So we're going to learn what the body needs in order to be healthy. We're going to use the word diet. Now it can be used in different ways, but I'm using it scientifically. And by that, I mean we're going to use diet as the food that we eat or the food that we consume. Let's get started. So our starter activity for this lesson is to write down what we ate yesterday. Now, it doesn't matter if you've forgotten. I'm going to do mine in a minute, and I bet I'll forget some of the things as well. But we're just writing down some of the things that we might eat over a day. So you have a sheet which looks just like this. And I've separated it out into the 3 meals. Now, you might call them different things. That's absolutely fine. And like I said, if you've forgotten, it doesn't matter. But all I want you to do is to write down some of the things that you've eaten. So if I look at mine, now some of this I've remembered, some I haven't. So I've just written down some of the things I do know I've eaten before. So for breakfast, I had some toast. And on that toast, there was some butter and some Marmite. And I also had some orange juice. And a bit later on, I had a cup of tea. And then for my lunch, I had a wholemeal wrap with some tuna, some lettuce and some cucumber. And I had a satsuma. And then for my dinner, I had a stir-fried chicken with some noodles. There was broccoli. I accidentally put too many O's into broccoli. And I had carrots in there as well. And I had a cupcake afterwards. So at the end of this lesson, I'm going to see if I can identify some of the nutrients that I've eaten or consumed in my diet over the day. So you have a go at doing that. I'll give you some pause time to try and think about some of the things you may have eaten. So you filled in potentially some of the things that you would have eaten over a day. So I'm now going to ask you, why do living things need food? Jot down your initial ideas or your thoughts. Why do living things, which includes humans and animals and plants, why do living things need some sort of food? Have a think, and I'll be back in a minute. So, living things, plants, animals, including humans, need food to stay alive. Think about a time when you weren't feeling very well. You probably didn't feel like eating any food, and you probably didn't have the energy to do anything. You possibly stayed in bed, curled up, keeping warm under a duvet. So, every organism, every living thing needs food. Now, you're going to learn about plant nutrition later on in the year, so when we do our plant topic. But for this topic, we need to know that animals, including us, including humans, need food to stay healthy, to grow, to be strong. So all of those things are really important, and that's why we need to consume food. Now, our bodies need a variety of different foods so that they can work properly. We might like toast, or we might like chicken, or we might like biscuits, but you couldn't just eat those alone because it wouldn't be healthy, it wouldn't be good for you. We need that variety, all those different foods to keep our body really healthy for those things that we talked about just a minute ago. So click on the hyperlink, listen to the song, and I'll see you back here in a minute. So pause the video and come back in a minute. So let's start to look at some of this nutrition, these nutrients that are really important for our body. And we're going to start with carbohydrates, also sometimes known as carbs. Now, carbohydrates are in most of the foods that we eat or consume. Carbohydrates are broken down in the body into simple sugars. They're a ready source of energy, so we need them for our energy. And there are foods which are really well-known sources of carbohydrates, such as potatoes or cereal or pasta or rice. Fruits also contain some carbohydrate. Now, carbohydrates can be starchy, so foods like the pasta or the rice, or they can also be a sugary form of carbohydrate, like cakes or biscuits. The carbohydrates are really important because they give us the energy. Now let's move on to proteins. So we need proteins every day as well. And they're found in everyday foods such as meat or fish or eggs or tofu or nuts, Beans as well, they're all examples of protein-rich foods. Proteins are really important when we're growing and for repairing our bodies and building them up again, maintaining our body tissues, particularly after an injury. Now let's move on to our next nutrients. So we're now looking at vitamins and minerals, and these are really vital for the healthy function of our bodies. We need them to help us grow, to see well, to form our bones, our muscles, for our healthy skin, as well as to help us fight off infection. You've probably heard quite a lot about vitamin C, especially if you've had a cold. So things like carrots and apples and sweet corn, grapes, lemons, and many more are all part of the vitamins and minerals group. Now you might want to research this and find out a little bit more about the different vitamins and minerals. As I said, there's vitamin C. You might want to find out a little bit more about some of the foods that have vitamin C, in case you ever get a cold. Now this is another nutrient which is really important, and this is fats and oils. Now fat is also a source of energy, a fuel for our body, so it's important. We need it to help us protect our organs, our vital organs, and for insulation to keep us warm. But it's also really important to help us absorb vital minerals from our foods. There are groups as well within the fats. So you might have heard of unsaturated fats. They're considered to be slightly more healthy fat group. Or you've got the saturated fats, which are considered a little bit less healthy, but still important as part of our diet, our scientific diet, the food that we consume. Fats are still essential in our healthy diet, and they're found naturally in foods such as nuts or seeds or avocado, meat, dairy foods. These foods are often delicious, such as cakes and sweets can have them as well. And it's really important that we use the word moderation. We still need this group. It's important to keep ourselves healthy, but we sometimes need to use the word moderation. A bit like I was saying before, that it wouldn't be healthy to only eat one food, one type of food, because your body needs a little bit of everything. So we shouldn't cut anything out of our scientific diet, because all of those foods are needed to keep us balanced and to keep us healthy. Now, along with the other nutrients that we've looked at, we also need fibre and water. Now, fibre is needed to help us clean our digestive system. We often giggle, especially now because you're going to hear Mrs. Tuxford mention the word excrete, or bowels, or poop. But it would be really uncomfortable if we didn't do these things, or if we couldn't do these things. So fibre is really important because we need to go to the toilet. Fibre can be found in fruits and vegetables, so you can see why they're important. But also things like beans or grains, like porridge, oats, brown bread. All of those are really important sources of fibre. We also need water because water aids digestion. So it's needed to transport those nutrients around our body. It helps eliminate our waste. It also helps to cushion our joints and prevents injury. So for our first task, we're going to see if we can recognise the foods and their functions. We're going to look at the different types of nutrients and try to match them up. We're going to see if we can correctly place them in the table. I'll show you what I mean. And what you're going to need to do is to cut all of these out, and then we're going to see if we can correctly place them onto our table. So we're matching the nutrient with their function and their examples. So I've cut out my pile of nutrients and the pile of functions and the examples, and I'm going to see if I can try and match up the function and the example on my table. Try to do it without looking back, but remember that all the answers will be in the video earlier, so you could always go back and just go and listen again. So how did you get on? Did you manage to match the nutrient with the function with the examples? Did you need to go back to the video earlier? If you did, it doesn't matter. You might also be able to add some more examples, so some other foods that I mentioned in the video. See if you can jot those on there now. Some of you may have some knowledge of some other foods that you could also add to them. Now you might look and think, well, I can see that cheese is under fats and oils, but why is it not under dairy? So in next week, we're going to look more at the Eat Well plate. So we're looking more at the essential nutrients for healthy function this week. So we're thinking about the carbohydrates, the fat, the protein, vitamins, minerals, water, fibre. And then we'll talk about food groups next week. So as I mentioned a minute ago, dairy is a group on the Eat Well plate, and we're going to look at this more next week. Some people also have intolerances to dairy. Some of you or your family might. Some people might be vegan and they may modify this food group. So when we talk about it next week, some of you may have some knowledge that you'll be able to bring to this lesson. There are lots of dairy-free options readily available, which still give the body the essential nutrients that it needs. So it's all about getting that nutrition into our body to keep us healthy. So if you remember, earlier I said that we'd return to the vitamins and minerals group. And in a minute, I want you to open the hyperlink. But as you open it and listen to it, I want you to think about the saying, 5 a day. Have you heard it before? What does it mean? Open the hyperlink, listen to the song, and then we'll come back in a minute. I hope you enjoy it. So what does the expression 5 a day mean? Well, it's recommended that we eat 5 portions of fruit and vegetables every day. So you might have perhaps an apple at break time, maybe a satsuma at lunchtime, or maybe carrot sticks in your lunchbox, maybe some tomato or lettuce in your sandwich, maybe some peas or some broccoli with your dinner. So they recommend that we try to eat 5 different fruits and vegetables every day. So task 2 is all about you applying your skills and knowledge to encourage all the children and adults at Fair Oak Junior School to eat their 5 a day to keep themselves healthy. But you're going to choose the way you want to present this. So you can demonstrate your knowledge in different ways. You may choose to present this in an artistic way. You might want to design a poster, a colourful, eye-catching poster with the important message of eating your 5 a day. You might really love writing, and you might enjoy writing a poem about it. It can have rhyme, but it doesn't have to, all about 5 a day. You might like music and singing, and you might like to write your own song inspired by the video you saw, or maybe a rap about 5 a day. You might like to apply your writing and your art skills and perhaps create a cartoon strip. Maybe there could be a superhero fruit or vegetable who visits a school to spread the 5 a day message. You could include your speech marks and inverted commas knowledge. You might want to demonstrate this with your computer skills. You might want to make your own animation about 5 a day. Or you could use to animate on Purple Mash. Whatever you choose, I really hope you enjoyed doing this, because learning should be fun, and you're doing a really important job by encouraging everyone to eat their 5 a day. But if you remember at the beginning of the lesson, I asked you to write down some of the foods that you may have eaten yesterday. And we're going to check our learning to see if we can recognise these nutrients in our food. So if you've got some different colours, you might have green, blue, yellow, red and purple. If you don't, it doesn't matter, you can choose your own colours. But I'm going to go back to the foods that I wrote down earlier in the lesson, and I'm going to see if I can recognise these nutrients in my food. We have toast. Now I know that toast is a carbohydrate, so I'm going to circle toast in green. Now I know that butter is a fat or oil, so I'm going to circle that in red. And I'm going to keep going through all of my foods and to see if I can recognise the nutrients in the foods that I had yesterday. So how did you get on? Did you manage to recognise the nutrients in your food? I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. I hope you've had lots of fun with your learning. I can't wait to see what you've come up with. Have a really lovely half term, and I look forward to seeing you after half term with the next part of our food work. See you later, Year 3. Bye for now.